craft with my bare hands.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Brittany and today I am literally so excited because I want to show you how to make fresh homemade pasta from scratch, okay? This video is monumental for me because the day that I made my first batch of fresh homemade pasta was the proudest day of my life, which is probably kind of sad, but I had never been so proud of myself. I just had flashbacks. So when I was like 11, 12 years old and I was trying to perfect my fettuccine alfredo recipe, and here I have crafted with my own bare hands and the assistance of my KitchenAid, which you don't need. I want to talk about that later. But crafted with my bare hands, the absolute essence of what makes that dish fresh pasta. I'm really very passionate about it. Anyways, this recipe is only 4 ingredients. It makes enough for 2 and it comes together. Well, it really takes like 45 minutes, but the actual work that you're gonna have to put in only takes like 15. So I'm so excited. Let me just shut up so we can get into it. So to make enough pasta dough for 2, I'm adding in a cup of flour and 2 eggs. If you want to double this recipe, add in another cup of flour and a third egg. I'm also adding in a tablespoon of salt and a tablespoon of olive oil. Now I'm going to mix this with my flat beater until my eggs are fully broken down. And then I'm going to switch it out from my dough hook to begin the kneading process. But when I switch that out, I want to make sure that I don't waste any of that precious dough. So I'm going to scrape my dough hook or my flat beater. And I'm also going to scrape the sides of my bowl so everything is kneaded in. And at this point, I realized my dough was a little bit too wet, so I added a pinch of flour. And I love this dough because it's so forgiving. So if it's too wet, just slowly incorporate flour the way I did. Or if it's too dry, you can add in some more olive oil. If it's too dry, you can add another egg yolk. But do so until your dough looks like this and it starts to form shape. And once you can see it kind of forming a ball on its own, you can dump this out onto a floured surface and make it the kneading process. If you don't have a standing mixer, you can still make a really good batch of pasta dough, and there are 2 ways. The first is the traditional method, and you would do so by making an amount of flour on your cooking surface, making a well in that amount of flour, dumping in all of your ingredients, beating your eggs while slowly incorporating your flour. Or if you have a food processor, you can dump all of your ingredients into the food processor until your eggs and flour are fully broken down, and dump all of that onto a flour cooking surface. And with both methods, you're gonna want to knead the rest of the way, just as I'm doing here. And by the time you're done, you should have this beautiful ball of pasta dough like this. And at this point, you're gonna want to wrap your dough and let your dough rest for at least 30 minutes, and it's good up to 24 hours, or you can freeze it, but you absolutely don't want to skip this step. Your flour and your eggs need time to fully soak each other up, really get to know each other for real. After 30 minutes, you can go ahead and add on your pasta roller attachment. Again, if you don't have a pasta roller, it's totally fine. Amazon has some for like $25, $30. But I am going to place my dough onto a floured surface and cut it into 4 manageable pieces. Make sure you keep your dough, the rest of your dough, covered while you're working with each piece so it doesn't dry out. And now I'm gonna like smush it down until it's enough to fit into my pasta roller. Now I'm gonna roll it through on the widest setting. And as you can see, it's still kind of like rigid, so it needs to knead one final time. So I'm gonna tuck and roll it through the widest setting a few times until it starts to smoothen out. And as you can see, my dough is much smoother, so it's ready to stretch out a little bit. So I'm going to roll it through on each setting twice until I get down to 2 or 3. Now keep in mind, rollers are different. Some rollers have 8 as the widest setting and 1 as the tightest. Some rollers have 1 as the widest and 8 as the tightest. But by the time I'm done, my pasta dough will look like this. It's really thin, but not too thin. I can just barely see my fingers through. Your desired thickness will just depend on preference, the type of sauce you're using, the type of pasta you're making. But I'm going to add in my pasta cutter attachment. And no worries, most pasta rollers have a pasta cutter attachment on it as well. So I'm going to cut my sheets into halves because they're really long and I want really manageable length noodles. Now I'm just going to run it through my pasta cutter. Now I advise letting your pasta sheets dry out for a little bit so they don't stick together. Or if you're impatient like me, you can just flour your pasta sheets before running through. Or you can do this weird flicking motion that I like to do to make sure your noodles don't stick together. And you can totally cut your noodles by hand. I was feeling really lazy today and I wanted really uniform fettuccine, but by the time you're done, you'll have this beautiful tower of pasta. This is one of my favorite sides ever, guys. So this pasta cooks up really quickly. So I have a pot of salted water that I brought to a boil, and this is gonna cook up in like 4 or 5 minutes. Look at these beautiful noodles. While my pasta dough was resting, I actually prepared a white wine cream sauce that I'm going to show in another video. And I'm going to dump this pasta in, let that soak up my sauce. And guys, I'm done. You absolutely don't have to cut your pasta into fettuccine. You can do pappardelle. You can keep your sheets whole and make some lasagna or ravioli. Whatever it is that you decide to do, I hope that this helped prove that fresh homemade pasta at home is absolutely not as intimidating as it sounds, and it's a very, very forgiving recipe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, try this recipe out. Let me know how you love it. Send me pictures of your pasta. Give me all of your feedback. You know I love it. In the meantime, like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you next time.